I gotta check to see if this, dude, if my air conditioner is broken, I swear to God, I'm gonna lose my shit.
We're opening this podcast, like literally.
I have so much anxiety about it right now. I just keep feeling the floor. I just keep feeling it. I'm like, it's cold, right? It feels cold. It doesn't just feel like stagnant air.
Maybe it just got turned down. Maybe you just need to turn it up.
No, it's up. My concern is it feel like the air feels different in here.
I
And
don't know
if
what.
I have to sleep in this room when it's a million freaking degrees, I'm gonna lose it. I will lose it.
You're not watching this on YouTube. Tana's currently sitting on the floor of her room.
Crouched on my floor, holding my hand over the vent because I believe my air conditioner is broken.
I don't know how that ties into our topic for today about which conversation you're going to need to have about that, but
Why is it saying that? Why is it saying that? Oh, it's totally effed. It says delayed. Why does it say delayed? I'm freaking out, you guys. What does that mean if my Nest?
I don't know anything about it. We have one of those, but Aaron handles that. I don't have the app on my phone. I can only handle so many apps. That one doesn't make the cut.
Dude. Yeah, cool. Great. Can't wait.
Well, aside from your air conditioning situation, do you want to talk about your trip to the lake a little bit, maybe, before we jump into things? Because any of our regular listeners
Sure.
will realize we missed a week. So sorry. But it was because Tana went to the lake.
I did. I went to the lake, went with my family and including my sister and my brother-in-law, my niece, and my parents to my brother-in-law's parents' place. And they actually ended up staying for the weekend. They didn't anticipate staying, but we were like, this is silly. Like, why would you leave? It's fine. So they stayed as well. And it was good. It was like very much like I grew up with divorced parents, so I didn't have like I don't have a lot of memories of like doing those kind of like sleepaway trips with my cousins with both my parents. It was always like with one or the other. And so it's fun just like seeing the kids make some core memories and like we went out on the boat. They were on the lily pad and jumping in the water and getting too many mosquito bites and staying up way too late. All the fun things. So yeah, it was great. I feel like I need a vacation from my vacation, but overall, very good time.
We didn't do a lot of exciting things here. We trained for the next race. That's the excitement around here.
Which is next
No,
week. Next
three
week?
three weeks.
Okay.
August,
Okay.
middle of August. Yeah. So
Nice.
those are the life updates, guys.
Yeah, those are the life updates. I also had like we're in this very chaotic time of the year where it's like they both have soccer on one has it 2 days a week, one has it 1 day a week, and they are both at the exact same time every week. And like it's still summer, but it's now like preschool because school is starting way early this year due to construction in the district. So it's like it tonight was just crazy. Like I had to leave work early to go pick up Keegan from 4K. I had to like get the supplies from home before I went there and somehow get the dog out and all those things and then go try to get them fed, get one to soccer, wait for my husband to get there so I could leave to go to 4K supply drop off and back to school night. It was crazy. It was crazy. And was like, this is why my car looks like I live in it. Because I do.
Lots of things.
There was a half-eaten cookie in the door handle of like one of the door, like the back seats from one of the children. And
Saving that for
what else did
later.
I clearly it had been saved for a while, it looked like.
Well,
Um,
you never know when you might need a half cookie.
yes. Yes. So Yeah. We also I found like 4 different applesauce pouch tops and I threw them away and the youngest one got really mad because he's like, "I was saving those. That's my helicopter collection." Excuse me. Excuse me, sir. Yeah.
Gonna have to feed him more applesauce.
I know. Gonna have to add to the collection again because I'm a mean mom. I'm like, you guys, it looks like we live in here. We can't live like this. I can't live like this. And they're like, it's fine.
They're right.
And I'm like, I need control for some element of my life.
Best of luck.
And now the dog's scratching at the door. I swear to God. Swear to God.
Well, while you're letting the dog in, I'm going to introduce this podcast. If you have made it through our rambling life updates, welcome to Enneagram Adventure, where we talk about life and growth and development through the lens of the Enneagram. Tannah and I are
Yeah.
IEQ 9 certified coaches. We use that tool to help guide our Enneagram conversations. So if you have interest in that, let us know. And Bodhi has joined the pod. So
Here he is.
if you're watching it, you
Ow,
can see
wow.
him. He's very cute. He's getting big.
Is he? He's
Yes.
getting big. Getting big. Don't bite me. Demon dog. And as a reminder, the Enneagram is about your core motivation rather than your behavior. So it goes layers deeper than any other assessment. Oh my God, he sees himself right now.
Was he just barking at himself? Put the mic
Bro,
closer.
that's you. That's you.
I don't know if
That's
anybody can
you.
clearly hear that, but he's like growling at himself in the computer. It's funny.
So anyway, core motivation rather than your behaviors. So not just what you do, but why you do it, where it came from, all those good things. So that's my disclaimer.
Yeah. So we're going to try to talk about like the idea behind courage and the Enneagram a little bit. Maybe
Yeah.
thinking of it through the lens of, I mean, I guess we can spin it multiple different ways, but one of the things we kind of talked about before was the idea of like when you have to have a hard conversation and the courage that it takes to have that hard conversation. So I'm thinking about it a little bit that way, but it could also be around staying in whatever the hard thing is, like staying in it and not giving up, right? Seeing it through to the end and
Yeah.
finishing it.
Yeah.
That could be the hard thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a little bit of the way is through, not around, under, or over, but through.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. Well, they're the Stoics, right? The Marcus Aurelius quote about
mm-hmm.
the obstacle is the way. There's like more to that whole quote, but
Mm-hmm.
that's the gist of it, right? So you got to go through
Mm-hmm.
the hard thing.
Yep.
And that going through hard things can be super tough. Recently, on one of my other podcasts, we talked about how I've had a really tough year and like going through that and being in that. That's that. We could talk about things like that as an example.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think one of the things that's been coming up a lot for me in my day job is this idea of teaching people how to have hard conversations. I realize this is a skill that not everyone has. Some people, it's easier to have the quote unquote hard conversation than others. And there is an element that comes with it's just like anything that you do in life, of the more that you do it, the easier it becomes. But there's also an element of this, right, that has to do with relationships and the relationships that you build and how they play into the ability to have tough
Yeah.
conversations. Yeah.
Yeah. Brace yourself, twos.
Yes. I had a I interviewed someone today for a potential position. And
Mhm.
we, what I probed into this very idea, right? Like, tell me how you would handle a difficult conversation with a peer where there's a disagreement or where somebody's standing firm in an idea and you disagree with them. Tell me how that would go for you. And as I was listening to this person give the answer, I was just like, oh man, like, nope, that's not it. That's not it.
Yeah. Shoot.
Yeah. It's the, right? It was the,
Shoot.
well, I would compromise and I would this and I would that. And none of those answers are wrong. None of them are wrong. But
Mhm.
when I think about really having the hard conversation, it would be I got really curious. I asked a lot of questions. I then presented the reasons why I believe that this is the direction that we should go in, right? It's not the, because the answer was really like, that she was giving was like, well, I would compromise, but then if it happened like 3 or 4 times, then I would put my foot down and I would say, hey, I disagree or whatever. And I just have reflected on that this afternoon of like that direct, it's it's not that you don't compromise, but it's the having the direct conversation. It's the being willing to be uncomfortable, right? Like I'm willing to be like, "Hey, I hear your point of view, but we're not doing that for XYZ reason." Or,
Right.
right?
Right.
Or, "Hey, you standing firm in your opinion is impacting my work."
Mm.
Right? I don't know if this is the best example,
Right.
but that's what I was kind of thinking about in terms of that. It also comes up a lot in my work in terms of you and I work with someone who has this rule with her husband where if either one of them does something that pisses the other one off, they have to talk about it within 48 hours. Have you heard this? Have I told you this?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So, and think about that a lot, and I'm like, I really like that. This is the idea is that you should not be holding on to stuff and keeping score so that you can bring it back up later. A real direct
Mhm.
conversation within 48 hours that's like, hey, you did this thing, it upset me, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
But if you're not willing to do that, then you got to let it go.
Yeah, I think that's a great rule. I shared that with my husband not that long ago, actually, because, the two thing that I do of keeping score regularly and just holding on to things for later, just harboring resentment is not helpful for anyone involved. Yeah. Yeah. It actually happened last night. I do find myself like using humor if I'm addressing it right away, if it's something I would normally hang on to. So that crutch has to go away at some point. But I've leaned into humor to try to try to curb the discomfort of something I would normally be like, just deal with it.
I think that's in the, like, it's really hard. We're trying to come up with these examples of like the hard conversation and the ways around it. And it's not the easiest thing, but when you're in it, right? When you're about to say the really hard, uncomfortable thing to a friend, to your spouse, to a coworker. Like everybody knows that feeling for them. And I wouldn't try to propose that it's the same for everyone.
Yeah, I would definitely not propose that it's the same for everyone. Did anyone see Landon's hand? His first podcast appearance, giving me the monitors.
I can edit it out if you want.
Oh, this is real life. Yeah, no, I would completely agree with that. I think that everybody has to find their own version of what works for them to be able to, because for me it's stages. It's like the thing happens where I need to know, where I know that I have to like have a conversation, and then I think about it, because I think about the approach, and that's when the two thing comes up of like, what's this going to do to my relationship? Like, how is this going to change things? And I wrestle with that insecurity a little bit. And then ultimately leading up to the conversation, and then the after. And by the way, like, at least for me, when I've worked myself up to those moments, the after 95% of the time is like relief.
Yeah, because usually as you're going through that, you're harboring resentment about the person, or you're
Mm-hmm.
creating your own internal anxiety about if it's going to go poorly,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there's you
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm thinking about? I don't know if I've told this story on here or not, but my niece, who I'm convinced is a four, was having a hard time with a couple of girls, and she's like, I don't want to be friends with them. So my sister says this all the time to her, like, you need to use your brave words and say, like, I need space, or like, we're still going to be kind and respectful, but that doesn't mean we have to be like attached at the hip to these other girls, right? And my niece, being the four that she is, she's like, ask my sister to get this girl's address so she could write her a letter to be like, I don't want to be friends with you anymore. My sister's like, that's whack. You're not doing that. We don't do that. We use brave words, all the things. And then she comes home the other day from school and she's like, Mom, don't worry. I got her address off of her lunchbox, and it's like locked in the vault. So you don't gotta worry about it. I got it. And my sister's like, again, no.
God.
And because she's trying to teach, my nine sisters trying to teach my niece, like, you need to have these conversations in person. And there's importance to, like, expressing kindness while you're creating the boundary.
Yes. Yes. I do
My
think
eight my 8-year-old niece is like, fuck that. I'm burning this to the ground.
Mhm. I'm going to write a letter, burn that bridge.
But don't we as adults like wish that was the solution, right?
And it's some people end up that's how they treat that stuff. Like that is how that works for them, right? Like I yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I grew up in a house where essentially notes were passed on the regular. My stepdad loved a good letter full of stuff, right?
So helpful. So helpful.
It was a lot like for him, I get it. That was like a way for him to like process through things. What wasn't clear to him obviously is when he should have written it all down and just put it locked it in a drawer and not sent it to anyone. Right? Like I'm all for
Got
that.
it.
Like
Yep.
if you need to pour your feelings and your frustrations out on a page and you need to write it to somebody because it's like I hate your guts and I'm so angry at you and I never want to speak to you
Yeah.
again and
Yeah.
here's everything that you do wrong and all blah 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 blah. You need
Yeah.
to get all that out. Great. Write it all down. And then burn it or lock it away someplace. Don't
I think this
send
is
it.
yeah, like don't send it. And I think this is how Taylor Swift made bajillions of dollars. Just make it cryptic and play guitar, and nobody knows who your song is about.
Yeah. I yes. So part of that, right? Like yes, she should have the conversation directly with whoever the other girl is. And I think it's great that your sister, especially as a 9, is trying to teach her to do that now and not defaulting to her 9-ness, right? But she
Yeah.
sees like
Yeah.
she sees it and is like I don't want you to be that way, so we're going to go a different direction.
Yeah.
Um but I would still be like, you can write it all down. You can write everything down that you wish you could say. We're not
Mhm.
sending the letter. Like,
That's
Yeah.
maybe she needs to write it down to practice,
Yeah.
like, what she needs to say, and maybe some of the shit she just shouldn't, you
Yes.
know?
It's also interesting with kids too, because like, yeah.
Doesn't every kid go through that stage too, where, like, you have a little notebook in your room and you write, like, "I hate my mom," like,
Yeah.
1,000 times on, because I did
Miss
that.
yeah. Mrs. So and so is so mean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's like, the old yearbooks are just filled with, like, you know, "This person sucks. Ugh, this
Yeah.
person's mean."
Yeah. I mean, I
Like, just
remember
we don't have to send anything. It's
no.
your yearbook. You keep
It's
that and you live with what you wrote into Sharpie in that book for the rest of your days.
until you burn them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my god. What's interesting about I'm gonna talk a little bit about eights for a second with this, because I think if you were to ask any eight, they're like, I have no problem. None. Having a direct conversation. I can have a direct conversation with anybody. I don't care.
Yep. I talked to an 8 today who almost literally those exact words.
And you're like, "Ooh, like you're hiding though. Like I see you hiding behind that like really forward confident directness. Like yes, you're willing to have the conversation on your own terms likely because you aren't really wanting to be vulnerable or get your feelings hurt. So I know a lot of eights that will unapologetically have those conversations because they feel like they have the upper hand. Like, you won't be able to hurt me if I'm the one who starts this.
What's the I'm gonna hurt you before you can hurt me?
Yep. Yep.
And
And it
sometimes,
doesn't like always have to be that confrontational either. It can just be the okay, this is going to be uncomfortable for them and they are hiding behind that. It's not uncomfortable for me.
yeah. That's where in the 8 that I talked to today, we talked about this a little bit. I'm like, directness is important. Saying the thing that needs
Mhm.
to be said is important. Giving the feedback that needs to be given is important in a work setting or in a relationship if you're working through something. Like having the direct conversation is important. Really sharing how you feel. All that is important. But it is not license to be unkind, right? So I think that's where sometimes their directness can come off maybe flippant or like they don't care or it is what it is, so deal with it. Like that kind of thing. And that's where it's like you're not allowed to use your eightness as an excuse to be a jerk. Or the fact that you're not uncomfortable being direct
Right.
doesn't mean
Right.
you can be arrogant.
Right. Like you can't charge through something and call it courage
Right.
necessarily in that case because the courageous thing to do in that sense would be for them to slow down, take a beat to understand what's theirs, articulate how they're going to clearly state, right, their piece in it, and figure that out. But
And
you can't, just because you're willing to take the bull by the horns doesn't mean that's courage.
correct. Courage for an 8 actually would be this, whatever this is making me feel sad or is making me feel lonely or is making me feel XYZ. That's what courage would be for an 8. Having the direct conversation for them is not necessarily, to your point, is not necessarily brave. For them, it would be risking the vulnerability. That would be really brave.
Mhm.
When you said this thing, you actually hurt my feelings. That would be brave for an 8.
Yep.
Or when this happened, I
Yep.
felt left out or whatever. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Or it might
Um,
might be really brave for them to sit and listen to somebody tell them, right? Like, "Hey, you've upset me." And for them to
mhm.
just listen and accept it and not try to defend or not try to say, "Oh, you're weak," or "Oh, you're whatever." Yeah.
Yeah. This is how you're making me feel, and respect that the information's been shared at a minimum.
Yes.
Because sometimes what can come off in that instance too is like immediate judgment.
Right. Yeah.
Immediate judgment of the person because of the feeling, or oh, you're weak, or you're selfish, or that's not my problem, you're lazy, whatever judgment comes up. But they can't be passing that judgment and still be curious about the authentic situation in the resolution if they're judging in that moment.
I was chatting with a 7 today. I cannot remember the 7's try type, but they were relaying kind of a situation where there's like some miscommunication and some assumptions and some stuff happening. And I was a little bit like, well, hang on a second on all of that. Like, I don't think any of that's fair. And what she was trying to do was like sort of fix this situation and sort of bring this group of people together and like make smooth it over for them.
Oh, sure.
And I was a little bit like, no, I don't think it needs smoothing over. I think we need a little dose of reality for the couple of folks that are coming to you with all this judgment about this other person. Like, no, we're going to let that person do their job and we're going to allow them the time and space to do it. And my thought around it was like, no, the brave conversation would have been to call out the people that were bringing all of this like judgment forward versus
Yeah.
trying to smooth over the whole thing. So
Mhm.
you have to think about that too, right? Like sometimes it's the telling someone you might be a little out of line with whatever that is that you're
Mhm.
expecting from someone else.
Mhm. Yeah. I do think that's the ever since at the beginning when you brought up curiosity, I've been kind of stuck on that in my head because I think there is also courage in, because oftentimes when you're in like one of these kind of conversations that are going to be uncomfortable for whatever reason, sometimes the healthier conversations that I've had in that space are when I've had the time to really think about what I own and like getting genuinely curious about how much of this is the story I'm telling myself, or like am I passing judgment on that person, or am I judging myself, or like kind of that process of being curious can also be uncomfortable if you go deep enough in it.
Yeah.
Because some of the more productive conversations I've had, I'll use my husband as an example because I rabbit hole with him the quickest because he's the one that I'm most willing to be confrontational with, like in the moment when something's uncomfortable. The big one with him that I use is the story I'm telling myself is it came up just last night. I have an example. I am meeting my best friend and cousin tomorrow night for dinner. And I said, "Do you care? Like can you cover kids, all the things?" And he's like, "Yeah, but I can't change my work schedule." And I'm like, "Who the fuck asked you to do that? Did I ask you to do that? Have I ever asked you to do that? For me to go up like a social engagement?" No, I have not. And so I took a moment. I did say, "Have I ever asked you to change your social calendar, your work schedule for my social calendar?" And he's like, "No." And I'm like, "Okay, then why?" Well, like, because the story I'm telling myself is you responded that way to prove a point, and I'm not understanding what that point is. And he's like, "I don't have one. It's fine." And I'm like, "Well, is it fine though? Because it sounds like you are having a feeling about this. And the story I'm telling myself is that you are, but you're not saying it." And he's like, "That's not what's happening at all." And in my head, I'm like, "Bull fucking shit." But
Except for maybe it's not that at all, but yeah.
it couldn't be like because here's the other thing that's in my head is like me as the two being like, I need a break. Here's what I need. Me stating my needs and it having an impact on him gives me a feeling. So that was like kind of the after curiosity piece of, is this me being like weird about asking for a thing? And because he doesn't respond with backflips and saying, "Absolutely, you deserve it." Like, you rock. I'm like, "Fuck you."
I mean, maybe. Because in the two-ness, right? Like the brave thing is asking for what you need,
Hmm.
but then you're also a little bit looking for all the reasons you can't have it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So while it's the brave thing to ask for what I need, the other brave thing is to unapologetically ask that.
That's like the next step of it. Like first, like great, you
Yes.
ask for what you need. And then the next thing is to just be like, this is what I need.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that it just is. Uh it can be really hard in relationships and to navigate the what I need without it coming off as like, because especially for a two, you don't want to come off as selfish. I don't think anybody wants to come off as selfish, but of course twos don't want to. But I think about that, right? Like a lot of times when you're like, this is what's best for me, this is the way, I need this to go in my life. It there's this can be this underlying worry about, oh, that makes you selfish. I was reflecting on that a little bit and thinking about where that comes from. And for me, it is 100%. That is a line I heard as a child, right? Like, if you, if you don't include your brother, if you don't include your cousin, if you know whatever, or if you do the thing you want to do instead of doing the thing they want to do, that makes you selfish.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's like we're, as adults, we're also having to like unwind all of that.
Yeah, and those are patterns, strong patterns.
And that's a good point too, because I think that goes along with the courage piece. Like taking the time to learn your pattern and then doing the work to break the pattern,
Mhm.
that is both hard and you could consider that brave because it is a lot easier just to like stay in your loop.
Yeah. It's it's easier and it's so natural, and because of how like ingrained it is, it's just second nature. Questioning it is very uncomfortable,
It's very uncomfortable to look at.
and it
Yeah.
takes a lot of courage to go through some of those spaces where you developed those patterns. So regardless of number, I think as human beings, like we all have patterns of behavior. The thing I struggle with in my two nature is that I can't change the other person when I recognize a pattern. That is very difficult for me because naturally I know what's best for them, obviously.
I think For me, what I've learned over time of like, one, when you start to like recognize the patterns in other people, there is this sort of like, I want to help you. I want to help you. I know this thing will help you. Let me help you. That I don't think that's just twos that have that instinct. I certainly have had that with people where I'm like, I know if you do this thing, you will feel better. I know it will work.
Right.
And when they do it, it works 100% of the
Mhm.
time. But what I've learned is I've actually stopped even offering it. I've stopped even like bringing it up in most cases because most of the time the response to that is resistance from the other person. So I'm like you're going to have to find you unfortunately you're going to have to find your own way with whatever the thing is. And so it is a little bit of just like letting it go and being like, live and let live. I think though for me where it's hardest is it with people I am close to, where I want it for them differently than I want it for someone who's like a casual acquaintance where the thing I'm offering them, of course it could be helpful, but it's not. I really don't have a whole lot of skin in the game with them,
Yeah.
right? But when it's someone that I'm really close to, a close friend, uh family member, right? Then it's like then I'm like, but please, but please, but please. It's harder for me to like let it go. I try really hard. Some days I do better than others.
I think people also have their own version of what it means to like go through the obstacle where that's not super clear to some people. Where there are methods to do that that are like very well outlined and educated, and there's, you know, people who do that for a living. Like, it isn't always talk therapy, as an example. Like, you might not actually need somebody just telling you like it's okay to be the way that you are, but like, where did it come from? Re-experience in your head and figure out the way through it rather than just like, even just seeing what it is and like naming what's in the room isn't through it.
No. I think and this would be very true for most fives, like speaking of like being brave. And I definitely went through this as a phase where I could tell you intellectually everything about me, what was wrong with me, how I was the way that I was, but I had not worked through any of it. But I knew how to label it. I knew, right? Like all I had taken all the personality assessments. I could tell you about attachment style. I could tell you about whatever, all of the things with me, but I had not taken it beyond the knowledge. I know everything about this level into the state of embodiment, which I still work
Yep.
on, but into the state of like, I have felt this, whatever it was, all the way through and have been able to let it go.
Yep. Totally.
And I think that's any of the head numbers. It's probably true for sixes and sevens as well, to some extent, to be able to
Hmm.
really quick snap judgment. I have all this knowledge, I know all this stuff, and therefore I don't need anything else.
Yep.
And our therapy culture today feeds that, right? It's the give you a diagnosis, sign on the dotted line, move on with your life.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, it's uncomfy. It definitely is. Like, the courage goes hand in hand with discomfort. There's a reason why you need to have courage to do whatever it is that you need to do. It's uncomfortable.
And if you can intentionally put yourself in uncomfortable situations and not judge yourself in those moments, you it will make other situations easier in your life. So, I was talking about it with someone earlier this week, right? We were talking a little bit about cold plunging, however you feel about that, whatever. But it is like you are intentionally putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation. And when
Yep.
you're doing it, as I used to do it all the time, but when you're doing it, your body is telling you you're gonna die, you're gonna die, you're gonna die, you're gonna die, right? Like you get in the cold water and
Yeah.
like your nervous system is like, this is bad, don't do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it is like then training yourself to be able to like sit in the discomfort, even if it's just for 30 seconds or a minute, of like, nope, I'm
Hmm.
not going to die. We're going to be fine. This is okay. Like, and over time, as you have the exposure, right, it becomes easier and easier to like get to that
Yes.
state of I am safe. So when we think about the need to have uncomfortable conversations, and the feeling that you get, that's that feeling, right? Of like, this isn't safe. I shouldn't have this conversation,
Yep.
right? It's the like being able to like bring yourself back and be like, well, actually, no, I'm perfectly safe. There's no tigers in this room.
Yep.
There's nothing that's going to eat me. The worst that can happen is that this person decides to yell at me, right?
Yep.
And get upset about what I've said. And
Yep.
maybe the next worst thing is that they decide they don't want to be friends with me anymore. They don't want to work
Hmm.
with me anymore, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So, but all of the best things, we've talked about this before, right? All of the best things come from the willingness to sit in those uncomfortable moments.
Yeah, listen, when you first started making me run, I hated it. But then you know what? Nothing feels better, I'm convinced, than a long run and a full body shower.
Mm.
Like, I'm convinced. Even better if you have like a thing that you're excited to eat for dinner.
Yes.
There's nothing better than that.
There is some, this might be TMI for any of our listeners, but there is something like very satisfying when you take a shower after a run or a really hard workout and there's like the salt on your, right?
Yep.
And then you feel it and or taste it like as you're rinsing it
Yep.
on, you're
Like the
like
gritty,
the gritty,
yes.
like, yeah. Hmm.
Yep. It's the best. It really is. It really is. So be uncomfortable.
Be
It's
uncomfortable.
worth it. It is worth it. Also, my air conditioning's working.
We're gonna close on the air conditioning turned back on. There was no need to
It's
panic.
working. It's working. We're fine.
Yeah. She
We're
went
fine.
from
It's gonna be
sitting without a
fine.
blanket to now she needs a blanket.
Yeah. I was nervous there for a while. I don't sleep well in a hot
No.
environment.
No. No. I don't like to be cold at all. It is one of my least favorite things is being cold. I know I just talked about cold plunging, but like I do not like to be cold except for when I am asleep. And then I want to be the air around to be cold enough that like you need a blanket. Like you need like a
Yes.
coziness. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. That's what I want as well. And it's been hotter than a mother here. We had a few
Yeah.
breaks, but now, like, and I had to like shut vents downstairs because I was like waking up in the middle of the night, just like hot.
Yeah. Well,
But anyway, guys, it's fine. My air conditioning is working and we are brave and having courageous conversation.
yes. Yes. And hopefully the really hot is done for now.
I
At
hope
least for
so. I think it's
Wisconsin.
supposed to be, yeah, I think it's supposed to be warm again tomorrow. And then maybe we have a break. I don't know.
Maybe. There's a chance of rain this weekend, but of course, because I have long workouts I need to get done.
Obviously. the one time we've had rain in 30 days.
Yeah. The day I need to ride 60 miles.
Perfect.
Hmm. Maybe it won't happen, or maybe it'll come early and be done.
Uh,
Okay, well, this was a little meandering, was not super organized, so thank you so much if you stuck through it with us on this one. Hopefully, we're entertaining enough that you decided to keep listening. If not, I understand. If you've made it to the end of this podcast and you have topics or questions or things you would like Tannah and I to cover, please shoot us a DM. You can email us, the links in the description. We are
mhm.
on most social platforms. We are not on Facebook, but we are on basically all the other ones. And we have a Substack. So you can also, if
Mhm.
you like to read through things in kind of blog format, we do like a little recap of the podcast every week on Substack, kind of a written form. And yeah, so like, subscribe, comment, all the things. Thanks for listening. If you find anything in the podcast helpful, please share it with a friend. I don't know if I missed anything in that. So,
All good. Toodles.
okay. Talk to you later.